Pohanka. I'm here with my friends for Severe Lack of Talent. Devlin Riley is on vacation today, but I am joined with my favorite people.
Robbie Perry.
Nick Hall.
And proof that if success was a soda, you guys would be flat.
Did you have that written down?
I did not. It just comes to me. And these are, it's a talent. It's insult talent. It comes across there. What a week we've had, guys.
Not necessarily the most positive week ever in sports, but an eventful week nonetheless.
There was a lot of news that came out, and we've got a lot to talk about. If you guys didn't have a chance to see my post on our Facebook feed, my super goat, I'm just going to go into it with this. It's nothing that's on a regular show, but if you haven't had a chance to go to our Facebook feed and take a look at it, I have no idea where this video came from. Looks like a high school basketball. I mean, not even a high school. It's like a pee-wee game. This child number 50 they're playing basketball, and he gets the ball and he takes it and he gives it to the smallest kid on the team, and he tells the kid to shoot, and then the kid shoots and it misses, and then the rebound goes to some other kid. He grabs it again and he comes back over and he gives it to the little kid, and he keeps doing it until the kid makes a basket. And I thought about that, given how just bad our weeks have been, this week's been sports-wise, and I go, oh my God, there is hope in the world.
Yeah.
If only we could watch sports and life through the eyes of children, when all the most important thing is can we go play?
Yeah.
I just really feel like that entire story, that entire video, is really a description of this show. We keep shooting and missing.
Yeah,
but
someone's there to help us out.
But Shendell keeps throwing us back the ball. We're gonna keep doing it.
She keeps on bringing us back.
Giving us back. And it is. It is probably a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
We're the littlest people in the room.
We are.
And Shendell just keeps on getting the rebounds.
It's just so nice to see sports and life, again, through the eyes of children.
For sure.
Where the most important thing is, did we get a chance to play?
Yeah.
And it was it was a good reminder. I posted it on there. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, please do. It definitely brought my eyes back to what's important in the world. Hopefully, we're going to talk about some things that are fun, but they don't change lives. In terms, we're not the ones out there doing it. There's people out there doing a lot of things. We're just talking about it. We're not the ones changing it, but we're trying to have some fun. But let's get into it. So.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to our goats. I'm going to start out with my scapegoat. My scape is actually the bubble. And the reason why I say the bubble is, one thing, we knew the bubble was going to work from a COVID standpoint. But one thing that we kind of didn't, we kind of overlooked was the mental health standpoint. And especially if a team went longer into the playoffs, they were going to be in the bubble, isolated for 2-3 months potentially. And so Paul George plays for the Clippers in the NBA. He was playing historically bad. He finally broke through. I think it was Tuesday night. He had a fantastic game, and he said, I underestimated the mental health toll that the bubble was having on me, meaning I think no fans, I think, being isolated, et cetera, et cetera. He said, I was in a bad funk. If you go to the NHL, the same thing with Tuukka Rask, goalie for, the Boston Bruins. He's really, really good. He just had to leave. He got up and left, and I think it was some family issues because the team supported him, but it's clearly the bubble was a toll on him as well. So the reason it's escape is I think it was something that we all kind of overlooked. We knew that was going to work from a COVID standpoint. NHL and the NBA have done a fantastic job. There have been no positive tests. But I think it's hard for these players, especially with this going on with the election and politics and everything, for them to feel like they're isolated. So from a mental standpoint, especially with the NBA coming back, the NHL starting to play again tomorrow, teams that are going to go further, they're going to need a lot of mental fortitude to, kind of push through to, especially without fans, it's hard.
No, I mean, and I don't blame him for saying that, everybody's thinking it, nobody's verbalizing it. They don't want to. They don't want to. You know, it's that protective cover you put on. For the NBA specifically, and all the bubbles really, no matter, it might be the NBA playoffs. Yes, it is. It is. You know, and no matter how good Disney can do, or the NHL or the NBA can do with making it awesome. Like when you watch the game as a fan, you see these fans up there like, wow, that's really cool. For these guys, when you're playing, it has to still feel like a scrimmage.
Yeah.
It has to feel like pickup ball. It doesn't feel like the NBA playoffs, and that eventually does take a toll. Playing out there, just like you said, the reason you played high school football was to be surrounded by friends, was to be cheered on by friends, classmates, fans.
Yeah.
And to say that has nothing to do with professional athletes and their mindsets,
it's crazy. Yeah.
I
think that is why hockey is doing better from from a viewership, but also the level of play, because I would say about 80-90% of these NHL players have at one point played juniors, like junior hockey, a very high level of hockey, but no, there's no fan unless you play, in OHL. No one comes to these games, but in basketball, and this is going to be a huge problem for football, from an early age, high school, sometimes even middle school, high school on, you are having packed houses at these levels. High school basketball, where they're coming from, some of these schools are having thousands of people at their game. High school football, for sure. College, I mean, it's going to be a huge challenge. They're like, I haven't played in front of no fans since I was 13 years old, Hockey, they're like, I was, right before I got drafted, there was a couple hundred people on my, at the event. Yeah. So I think for them, and that's why when you watch, they still are bringing the energy. They're still fighting. They're still the energy in hockey is a little bit better, and I think it's because they're a little bit better suited. I think in football, the NFL, it's going to be a huge challenge. Unless you're the Los Angeles Chargers,
it's the same.
You have
actually you get an advantage because you're no longer being booed at it.
That's true. That's true.
Because you're not. Oh, he's playing.
You're not playing 16 away games. Yeah.
But when you think about it, when you think about the players going in the bubble, the only other people who ever do this are astronauts.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And they go under years of training. They are looked at mentally. I mean, they go through and they're going through all sorts of training to get them in this mindset where they can be away from family, they can be in a bubble of sorts. So they go through years of training for this. And these guys were said, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
So that goes into it. You brought up something about football, which I think is going to be the most interesting. Hockey, you score a goal. It's five guys. You go around. You fist bump everybody. Wow. Yeah, you're excited about that. Your players are banging on the ice. Makes sense. Basketball, you've got the players around you are on the court. They're high fiving you. It's good to go. You imagine doing a touchdown celebration with no fans yelling or screaming?
What about the Lambeau Elite?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, there's so many celebrations
or you hit a sack, and the first thing you do is you get up and you want to do this, and you're doing this little and then there's just no one. Because no one's on. Or not, your guys are still getting up, hoping or one guy's running 50 yards. It's that way on the. So there's no one around you, and you're gonna look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think from the intensity standpoint, and then when you see about what goes into that, you do amp up your game. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why you raise your hand up for 4 quarters and you get the crowd excited into it. I remember, I think we've said this before, I remember swimming, and we swam against Georgetown, and we beat Georgetown. Well, for some reason, the stands were full that day in the pool. We were doing well, and you just fed off that energy, and we never swam like we did that day. Or at least I never did again.
It's not a coincidence.
And you do feed on that energy, and that energy not being there, I think the NFL is going to have a really tough time. Yeah. And I think any of these players that are playing right now, they've kicked it up, but they've agreed to put their lives in a different notch, and I would my hat's off to them. I don't. I mean, we all can sit there and go, "Oh man, if I had 20 days off or 30 days off or whatever," they don't have time off. In between after the game, they can't go and we joked about the guy who went out to get pizza, the guy that went to the bar. There is no going to get to the bar unless it's the bar at Disney, which,
Yeah.
when you start to look at it, I think it's tough. And which comes to another point off of this. You brought up a point earlier when you asked me before the show. Do people who win championships now that my hockey team's out of it?
Yeah.
Is this an asterisk year? And I'm going to say the same thing to you all that I said to Nick. I think if a team wins any championship in the bubble,
Yeah.
my hat's off to them again.
For sure.
Because you have shown a physical toughness, a mental toughness that no one has ever expected.
Yeah.
And I think
We're talking about football struggling in the bubble, and I'm going to bring up a point that we have talked about for 3 or 4 weeks in a row. Outside of the energy, I completely agree. Outside of the energy, hot mics for the NFL without crowd noise.
Ooh,
Oh, that
that'd be fun.
I still think
that'd be fun.
I still think
can't
that
wait.
I think the chirping in hockey, the chirping that goes on, I would rather it go off of the air, go on to pay-per-view. I'll pay him $10. I want to hear everything.
Yes, I agree. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah, I will pay extra money to get the live feed. I don't need to hear the announcer. I want to hear all of the chirping that's going on.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
and you know what?
I
I
agree.
wouldn't hold it against anybody. You chirp something stupid, it just is what it is.
If this was the case last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, we wouldn't be wondering what happened between Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett.
Yeah, we would know for sure.
We would know for
We
sure,
would know
wouldn't
for
we?
sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would tell you that I would pay money for that feed. I mean,
Yeah.
in NASCAR they let you have the feed from the team.
It's an interesting
I
point.
would
Like
love
you
that.
could have the game on CBS on cable, with the normal 7-second delay and all that. But then you have all access CBS and that's unfiltered.
Exactly.
hot
The
mic.
guy's
Yeah.
got that big boom thing, and
Yes.
that little CIA little.
Oh, and it picks it up. And they fill. They try to get this. They have a couple seconds. So it's gonna be really interesting to look. It's gonna be really, really interesting. I think they have shown that you can bring the energy without fans. Now the NFL, I think by the time the season's over, all the stadiums will have some fans because all of them are leaving the door open. First game, first 2 games.
You've got
Some
already are doing
some
it.
that are saying opening day is going to have fans.
Which I think the NFL should. I don't think that's fair.
I think that they look. If you can go to a restaurant and they can get you separated, if they have a plan where they're only going to sell X number of tickets, and if anyone could figure it out over 16 games, it's going to be the NFL. It's not like you guys trying to figure it out over 70, 80 games.
Yeah.
Of like, oh my god, they're going to have some. I mean, they're going to tell the season ticket holders, hey, this is the new cost for
Yep.
these new tickets.
Yeah.
These are the ones we're selling for this year only. Maybe they cut them a break for next year's tickets, but this is how it's going to be.
I think it's not fair. So all New York, New Jersey teams, their first 2 games, they don't have anyone. So Buffalo in New York, and then the Jersey teams, the Jets and the Giants, they're not having any fans. I think the first 2 games, and then but Miami already said their first home game, which is week 2, they're going to have 25% capacity, which they're playing Buffalo. So how they have something they do have an advantage. Now, granted, I would say most of those fans might be Bills fans, but it's still the NFL. I think they've actually surprisingly done a pretty good job the last couple months, but I don't think that's a good idea. They need a blank slate until everyone can get on the same page, because now you have a unfair advantage because your state or your local area is letting that happen. It's not Jersey or New York.
Why are you dissing on your Bills, man? Your Bills have a chance to get the best home advantage ever. Half the games people are wearing face masks anyway.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's too freaking cold
Yeah.
up there.
But
so they're already masked.
But, like,
why would you?
You could easily, like you said, places are open. Those stadiums, NFL stadiums, college football stadiums are massive. You could put in 20,000 people in that stadium and not ever cross someone's path unless
Yeah,
you go
I mean,
to
20,000 people in some of these stadiums. That's a third, a fourth.
yeah.
College, when you get into the college realm, that's 20%.
Yeah, if you say 20%, that's usually
Yeah,
you know.
that's
Keep in mind,
20%.
if you look at how you space, if you go every sixth row and you alternate and you into a checkerboard pattern around it.
Well, they're yeah. That's what I was thinking.
What is he saying?
Go Vols. You know?
After I said it, I'm like,
They're
oh
going
my
to
god, I
do.
served up a curveball, hanging curveball for him on that one.
I think how the NFL is going to go about it, actually, I think is a really good idea because there are obviously going to be there's all going to be season tickets and et cetera, and it's going to be, I think, in pods. So let's say 20 people, we buy 20 tickets. They're going to put all 20 tickets together. And then if you buy one ticket, you're going to be by yourself somewhere. So if you come in together, you can sit together. But so it's going to be like you're not going to be separating those seats because you're together. You know, like it's. So I think you're going to see patches of like 50 people together, and then all over like that.
So what they've done is they've gone to the capologist, whose job is to figure out the salary cap, and said, "Hey, listen, math guy, math girl, figure this out."
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because now you've got a new job. You're our COVID seating expert.
Speaking of Bill, I have a.
I saw your
yeah.
I mean, but again, your team has a chance. We always talk about, oh my God, wouldn't it be great to be playing in Miami in the middle of, when we hit, the cold months. I mean, people in Buffalo, they're up there. They're all parking up. They got their scarves on and whatnot.
It's crazy.
That's their advantage. They're COVID ready to cheer, yell, and scream.
Yeah, if you don't wear a face mask in that stadium, you're in trouble. Okay,
I'll tell you
so
what, I don't know what's the coldest you've been? Coldest weather you've been in?
-40.
Okay, so all right. So
He's in Russia.
Yeah.
I was gonna say not fair. I don't know what the degree was, but it would have to be at a Tennessee November football game.
Okay,
No doubt.
nowhere close. So I was in Chicago at -29.
Oh.
So you were at -40. It is cold.
And but it was probably -29. Probably felt like
Well, it was
60.
water was freezing on the glass. Cars would go.
Yeah.
When you're gonna start them. If you're not wearing some sort of covering, your eyes.
It's actually unsafe.
Yeah,
It's
your
unsafe.
nose starts to. You can get a bloody nose from
It's
the
dry air.
moisture just going. So no, I would say that they're masked up, ready to go. So Buffalo, Chicago,
Green Bay.
They got it. Let them have their advantage.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really interesting to see. I think the closer we get, I think COVID, I think that's gonna, hopefully so far they've done a really good job. The energy level, it's gonna be interesting to see in
Actually,
football.
watching Chargers games, like you said.
Yeah. So my GOAT actually is Ron Rivera, the head coach of the Washington football team. I've said it several times. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's a great human being. But he's also dealing with so many things that are out of his control. He's dealing with the name change. He also, first year on the job, he got fired from the Panthers last year. So he's dealing with a new job, new team, young team. He's dealing with, complete regime change. They obviously just hired new people they had a new president. But then he is dealing, and he's being forced to answer all of these things that are going on with ownership with Dan Snyder. All these different allegations. The Washington Post had a report 2 days ago, and he's the one that's been answering. And then obviously, they're representing even though they don't play and
with cancer.
I would say with cancer.
Well, yeah.
And atop all this, he got diagnosed, I guess, 2 weeks ago, and he just there's such a burden on his shoulders, and I think he's done a fantastic job. And I think they might not win this year, but I think he's the guy he's going to steer the ship in the right direction, change the culture. And it's great to see. I've said it several times. He's never been my GOAT, but I think that if I was a Washington football fan, I would be very excited because I think he is going to he might not win the Super Bowl, but after he leaves 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the organization will be different because of him.
It's funny. So that will lead me into my scape, which ties into your goat. I think you're right about Ron Rivera. I think he's doing a superhuman effort with what he has. But my scape on this that ties into this is not only is the NFL, and it goes into the Redskins or the Washington football team. You look at in this year, they've had the name change problem. They've had allegations of sexual misconduct. They've had more allegations of sexual misconduct. You've had Snyder come out and say he is going to change the name. No, he's not going to change the name. They've got the problem with then they're finding out they've got video problems. You've got you've got a medical staff that tells the guy he's fine, he's got cancer.
Yeah.
You start going through everything that this team has gone through. Him being here is probably the only thing that's been a benefit, and Alex Smith having a chance to come back and play.
Yep.
You've got all of these negative things that come through. But I'm going to go back into why my escape is going to be the NFL. Kathy Lanier is the head of NFL security. She was a former DC police chief. The NFL Department of Security is full of people who were former FBI, police force, supposedly some CIA. They go through and they go back and they back investigate everything in the world. You go to you go ask Warren Sapp. You go back before the draft, he was supposed to go super high. Come to find out that the NFL security had been tailing him. Found out he was doing marijuana. Boom, his stock dropped dramatically. The NFL Department of Security was designed to protect the shield. Okay?
Yeah.
Because of things that, like the Black Sox. If you look at baseball, you had the cheating scandal, and there was the 1913
shaving points.
World
Sox,
Series.
yeah.
They threw the World Series. And there has been talk in the NFL for years of fear about finding out that someone's shaving points or someone's having some misconduct with gambling. So that's why the NFL Department of Security was instituted. So this Department of NFL Security investigates players. They investigate the league. They go through a million. I mean, these guys actually will pick up players if they're drunk.
Yeah.
Okay, they have a device that is in place to protect the shield. But Dan Snyder is still allowed to get away with the crap that he's getting away with.
And
Now, when I say that he's getting away with, they're letting him do it on his own. Now they're just now getting involved. This is something the NFL, to protect the shield, should have helped him with. And I'm not trying to take his side, because I don't know what side he's on. Whether he's involved with it, not involved with it, I don't know. But there was so much smoke going around on this team. The fact that the NFL Department of Security did not get involved earlier to try to fix this problem is crazy.
And this is the crazy part, is that, Snyder came out and said, we're doing an investigation, we're going to get... But he's getting the investigation done. Sure, the NFL come in and be like, no, we're doing the investigation, because, isn't that the kind of part of the issue? If Dan Snyder, if he is the problem and he is doing the investigating, are we going to find the results that we need? Now, he might not be. Maybe.
Well,
he's
claiming that he's innocent till proven guilty.
Yeah.
We don't know the facts. We know what's being said. And given enough of what's being said, the NFL earlier had enough cause to step in. They stepped in on Jerry Richardson.
Yes.
And now with Dan Snyder, you've got, and again, I don't know if these reports are true. You've got reports that they're editing film footage from the cheerleaders.
And sending it to Dan Snyder.
And sending it to Dan Snyder, so they got this.
That was the Washington Post came out on Thursday.
Yeah, so he's got outtakes of them changing.
Like he had a personal video to him.
And the announcer was part of the deal, and that's why he got fired. Again, there's just so much. Then there's talk about possibly doing some offering services and yada, yada, yada. And again, I don't know if they're true or not. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh my God, they are true and he's so bad. I don't know. Nobody knows. That's why the NFL needs to get involved.
Have they come out and said why they aren't?
They are. They're just now.
They're just now doing it.
Enough people have filed grievances with the NFL that they're now getting involved. But now, why are we waiting so long to get involved?
Like with Richie Incognito, remember the whole bullying incident? They did a full-on investigation, suspended him for the year, did all this. So, like you said, why do they jump on, especially when it comes to players, but something even more valuable to the Shield?
It is
the owners.
The owner.
Yeah.
This is.
If there's misconduct, then that is huge.
Look at how big of a story it was when the Carolina Panthers, when they forced that sale. When the Carolina Panthers.
What did he do again?
There was talk of sexual misconduct and racial slurs.
Okay.
Yes.
So he shot himself with both barrels.
He had the trifecta right there.
Okay.
But
Miserable human.
but Dan's gonna make money if he sells the team.
Of course.
Oh, so did I don't remember his name.
Dan bought the team for I think $600 million.
Yeah.
It's valued at $2.2 billion.
Yeah.
That means it would sell for at least 3.
He's not going to not walk away with money. The NFL, that created this giant jump. I mean, the sale of the Panthers led to these astronomical values for all other sports.
I mean, it's true though. Think if the Panthers sold for what they sold for, some of these other franchises. It's the Panthers. I mean, like in the grand scheme of all the NFL and all the Power 5 teams out there, the Panthers are
not.
Yeah.
Now take it. If you just use a Panthers valuation, and let's assume $2 million, $2 billion.
Yeah.
32 teams. You're a $64 billion valued industry. That's and that doesn't take into the fact that the Cowboys are worth more, the Patriots are worth more.
The Redskins actually are up there.
The Redskins are up there. You look at some cities where it's massive. Billions. With a B. They need this is something that needs to be protected. Do players want to play for him anymore? What's that do to the team? What's it do to the city that it's in? My point in all of this is at some point in time, the NFL and their owners. I understand the owner's job, who wants to come in and try to clean up their own problem. I can respect that, but you're the one that's listed in the problem. And to go from telling people that you've been a hands-off owner this whole time,
yes,
and now you're going to be more hands-on. How?
The last thing the Washington football team needs is Dan Snyder getting more hands-on.
Yeah.
And that's what he said. He said, I've been too hands-off. I'm going to become hands-on now. And that's like, oh, no.
And this is, he needs a problem. He needs damage control.
Yeah.
And he's not. And as much as I've given him grief, I'm not here to try to pile on. But I am saying, at some point in time, man, you've got to find a way to help yourself. And I think that if the NFL comes in and they investigate, and my point being, they have a huge array of talent to do that, you can find the problem or fix this problem. I mean, is it the team? Is it the culture? Is it the ownership? I don't know, but it's not going to get solved, and it's going to continue to get worse. I mean, he thinks the Post is after him.
There's no reason the Washington football team should be, and formerly the Redskins for years, should be the punching bag. I mean, if your team's not good, that's one thing. It is what it is. But they have just been, you're losing. They should be consistently top 3 most valuable franchise in the NFL, top 10 in the world. And they are just a joke now. It starts with ownership. And I maybe he was hands off and he was letting people run wild, and that's what the problem was.
That's another problem.
That's another problem.
If I have if my business is worth $2 billion, or it's dropped $1 billion, or dropped whatever those things. You have to step up.
Yeah, because now they don't have any. Now I think on like the football side, you have Rivera. He's going to right the ship, but that's not. That's
Now-
not all of it. That's
now
not the whole thing.
only thing, and I saw this out there, and I'm going to bring it up now to tie into this, is that there is talk that the NFL owners dislike him so much.
They could vote him out.
No, that they're giving him all the reason why the Shield hasn't gotten involved is they're just going, you're swimming and you can't, you're drowning. Oh,
Here's some more bricks.
Here's some more bricks. And
Yeah.
maybe that's the reason why they are doing it. I don't know. But I don't know how you can say you want to protect the Shield and let this go on. I don't know why he's not saying, hey, I need you to come help me. Something amiss is in this. So my escape in that regard is the NFL Department of Security, because I think at some point in time they got to protect the Shield. And my goat. Did we talk about goats already? No,
Yeah,
I started to.
Yeah.
I started
Yeah.
to before. So, but my goat is the NBA players and their decision to come back and play. The reason, and most notably, they knew they couldn't play without LeBron James. And the reason why I'm making them my GOAT in this regard is that they are now in the same realm that the rest of us are in, where they just, no one knows. And LeBron James came out and said, that he wants the owners to do more about social injustice. What can we do? What can we do? And they're starting to realize now that it's not just about putting names on the court or putting signs in the stands. It's what can they do outside of this bubble?
Yep.
What can they do outside of here that's going to make a difference? They are out there playing, and they're doing things to make all of us feel better about ourselves, and I applaud that. But now they're realizing there's this other instance, and I think that's where the big change is going to come from.
I agree with that.
I think that's great that they had this moment. I disagree with everyone else who thought that them walking off Brian Urlacher, for lack of a better phrase, thinking that what they did was wrong. I think it's a good. I think it's a good.
Well,
moment.
and I think like you said, is that protesting is one thing. This is America. What makes America truly great is that you have the right to protest, and you're not going to be thrown in jail or shot. From if you were in a lot of countries in the world.
Well, unfortunately, we found that
you might get, you might get lit up on social media. You might lose some PR, but the government is not going to put you, into prison because you walked off the court.
Political prisoners.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have the right to protest. But also, I think if you are going to protest, you need a plan of action, And so when they walked off, I was like, okay, that's great. If this is what you're going to do, you are equally as tone deaf because, if that's all you're going to do, because you're just hurting your own platform.
Well, but think about this: the Bucks started this,
Yeah.
and they walked off. They said they're not playing.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
Yeah, they didn't come out of there. They didn't come out of the
Which
locker room.
meant two things could have happened. The other team said, okay, fine, we'll postpone. Or the league could have said, okay, you forfeit the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they can't forfeit if the other team.
The other team didn't accept.
They can't-
the
they
forfeit.
can't-
Correct.
Right.
But I say,
Yeah.
so
magic.
that could have happened.
Yeah.
And so again, credit to both of them for realizing, every
Yeah.
team to realize that moment. But you keep going.
But so, and I really agree with Bruce Arians, who's one of the most progressive head coaches in the NFL. He's the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he said, what I told my guys is that protesting without action means nothing. It's nothing. All you do is take a day off. Like no one, at the end of the day, people don't care. But if you protest and you're like, I am going to make sure you hear what I'm saying, and this is what I'm going to do to make change. And I think the credit to your point is that they are now saying, okay, this is what we did. Now you're talking about it. Now this is how we're actually going to go and try to enact change. Because if they didn't do that, if they just walked off the court, I think it would have hurt them not just financially moving in next year, because there could have been a potential lockout and the owners and all that. But I think just from a PR standpoint, there would have been a lot of people that are like, wow, they just decided not to go to work out of protest, that's strange. But then if you say, okay, this is why we did it, we're coming back, and we're not stopping here, we're actually going to go, we're not going to just do messaging on the court, we're not just going to kneel, we're going to go and make change in our communities, we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do it. And I think that's powerful.
And that
Because when it first happened, honestly, I was like, that is, I'm a white man in America. I will never know how it feels to be a black man in America. That being said, when I saw that, I was like, that is bizarre to me. That's like you're boycotting your own entity, But then the more I started thinking about it, and the really and we're gonna get to your goat. I was like, okay, I see what they're doing, and that's something I can get behind when we're doing change. But then, certain things, certain protests, I was like, okay, you're just doing it just to do it. What are you actually doing behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I've always been impressed with the fact that they are trying to put. They're standing up, and that's always impressive when they do that. But they're starting to realize it's not about what we do in the game. It's what are we going to do outside of this game.
100%.
And I think that once we start in that realm of what are we going to do outside of the game, where are we going to where are we going to put our money, where are we going to put our time outside of the game, how are we going to make these impacts?
Yes.
The politics in the game is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm not saying it's irrelevant from the standpoint that it doesn't mean anything, but it's just a sign.
And it's not going to get the change that they want, that we want. We do. We need, listen, America's not perfect. We need to change a lot of things. If you say otherwise, you're just putting your head in the sand. But if you just do it on the court and you're doing it just when TV's on, that's where people get emotional because they're like, what are you doing? Mike Evans was kneeling for the national anthem in 2016. And then they asked him, did you vote? He said, no, I didn't vote. It's like, okay, so you're not even starting at your personal level.
The minimum. That's the minimum
yes.
is voting.
And the nice thing about it is that when you look at a guy like LeBron, and they know he's the face of the NBA, and he's able to mentor guys coming up and talk about it. I just think my hat's off to those guys. I think that it took a lot for them to come back to sit down and talk about playing. They were going to leave. They were committed to leaving.
Yeah. Emotions were
high, and it took a lot of people on a lot of sides to do it, which leads into
go to your goat.
My goat this week is now this is a great segue into it because it's not just the NBA. It's not just the NBA that's been affected this past week. The elephant in the room, guys. For those out there, sports sucked this last week.
Oh, yeah.
There's a few reasons why, but sports really sucked this last week. First of all, last 2 or 3 days, they weren't playing sports. That's one reason.
Baseball games.
A few baseball games.
Games that they had to play double headers.
Yes.
Yeah. Games
yes.
That they played double headers.
So I think five games yesterday. Seven games yesterday.
Yeah.
7 games yesterday took off, and then also too, this was all in reaction to the shooting of Jacob Blake. I don't know if a lot of you guys have seen the video. I don't feel like this is the platform that we have right here. We're not going to go into the politics of it, but we'd be turning a blind eye if we didn't talk about how that, in which we are already, how that actually carries over and affects sports. We'd be turning a blind eye to it because that's the biggest news in sports as well this week is the reaction across multiple leagues.
But Kima, it's not about the sports. It's a reaction for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, sports are about people. Unless you're,
one thing we forget, they're played by people.
Yeah.
Those heroes in quotations, those heroes that we watch on the field, on the court, or wherever that is. Those are still people that have emotions, that see this stuff. I am so sorry for not having this name memorized right now, but I don't know if you guys saw the interview yesterday, I believe, with the
Mets.
The Mets, yes.
Yeah, I don't know his
Mets
name.
third baseman. I apologize for not knowing his name. In absolute tears, talking about what it means to him right now, being a black man in America, and what that means. Not just to sports, but to him on a personal level. We have to remember that these guys out there, as much as we put them on a pedestal, they're humans.
Yeah.
They feel.
Yeah.
Along with that, some of the cool things that happened. We mentioned obviously the playoff games postponed, the baseball games not being played. A really cool thing that I really liked, because when that many teams boycott both MLB and NBA, is anybody's job at risk? Is anybody getting really a question for you? Is anybody really risking their job?
If the NBA did it, you know,
The young guys are risking their money.
yeah.
So they're risking
And
their money,
that-
but they're
that
not
was-
risking their
and
money.
that- and that came up.
There's nobody that's going to come in and cut everybody on the Bucks.
No, they're not getting cut, but they came in and talked about if they were not to play the rest of this. Part of their thought process,
Correct.
is if they were to boycott or protest the rest of the season, people, LeBron's not going to worry.
And I get that. I'm talking about actually losing their jobs. Nobody out
they're
there.
going to lose their jobs, but for some people, it could be catastrophic.
more damaging.
Yeah.
I totally get that. All of that aside, I'm talking about actually losing their jobs.
It's not like you or I.
Yeah.
Correct. But you know who it is like? Kenny Smith on TNT inside the NBA. Yesterday during his broadcast,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, I apologize. Wednesday during his broadcast, sat down at the table right next to Shaq and all the other guys on that table and said that he doesn't have the right words for what's going on right now, and that he is going to stand in solidarity with the rest of the NBA and his family of the NBA and not be here today because he thought it was best. After that, he unplugged his mic and he got up and he walked off set. He later tweeted, he said, "I'll deal with the consequences later. This was what was important to me right now."
Yeah.
I commend him for doing that. And that he has risked his job possibly by doing that. I think that TNT would be crazy as the host of most basketball out there to actually take any kind of action against him. But I will also say, from my point of view, that can only happen once.
Yeah.
You can't continue to do that same protest now. But I thought that was absolutely moving. My GOAT this week, though, is Michael Jordan. The GOAT of all of COVID sports, if you ask me, saving sports during COVID.
Yes.
It is Michael Jordan.
Yes.
But that has definitely been carried over today. And the reason why, if there's one group of people that you would rationalize who is going to be the most mad at these players not playing, it's owners, right? It's owners. I would imagine they flip their lids. Michael Jordan.
I don't know about that.
Well, they didn't. They didn't.
I don't know. I don't know if the owners are, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't think if anyone's going to flip their lid, if it's going to be the owners, because
If they had the right,
if they have the right owner,
if they got mad and saying you're costing us money, they would have an argument.
Yes.
They would have an argument.
yeah. I mean, I think anyone who, I don't think Mark Cuban. I think owners, team owners, not their owners, team owners that understand and that understand that these are people paid a lot of money to play a kid's sport.
And that's
I think they would understand.
a great way to look at it, because that's what Michael Jordan did.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan took the reins on that discussion with the owners and said, hey, as owners, Michael Jordan, the only black majority owner of an NBA franchise, might I add, took the reins on this entire discussion by saying, we need to let them boycott a game or two. We need to let them boycott the next few days. We need to hear them before even issuing any sort of statement. Let it happen.
Yeah.
His voice resonated in us, but that's exactly what the owners did. Before any team made a statement, they let this happen.
Yeah.
And everybody right now is crediting the NBA returning to the great way that the owners actually handled.
Yeah.
And the NBA handled these boycotts, is that there was no team out there that disagreed.
Mm-hmm.
There was no team out there that didn't support their players. And my goodness, look at what we're talking about in the NFL right now. Could you imagine if all of the players and all the owners, and in the MLB, all the players and all the owners would just be on the same page about something?
Well, Jerry Jones came out and he went out nutty about what he's going to do with the national anthem and his players. Stuff that just is irrelevant.
Yeah.
But the great thing about Michael Jordan is that he also he supported the players, but then he was a great liaison. That's what I saw on ESPN. It was a great, I think, way of putting it, because he was like, okay, owners, guys, this is what we need to do for the players.
Yes.
We need to support them.
We're going to be there for them.
But then he went to the players and he said, okay, what are you guys going to do?
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys going to do?
Reached out directly to Russell Westbrook, who is one of the leading voices in this.
Yeah, so I think that was great because he was communicating for both. And so a lot of credit's going to him for helping save the season because emotions Wednesday night for the players. LeBron James stormed off. The Clippers and the Lakers pulled that they were going to they voted.
They were ready to
against.
go.
They were fine.
ready
They
to
were fine
leave.
with being done.
They were
done.
about to leave.
Yeah.
And I think that cool heads prevailed. It was very emotional, and I think a lot of it goes to Michael Jordan because he said, "Okay, we hear you. We're in your corner." That being said, where are we going from now? Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? And then, the players came out, and this is a big thing that a lot of people weren't talking about. It's like, okay, cancel season's done. And it might have been Chris Paul. So many came out and they said, and they all agreed. Even the people that voted against that were going to leave, they said, we have done too much self-sacrifice and family sacrifice to get to this point. Like, that's what the players said. Like, we should see it through because we don't owe it to anyone. We owe it to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's been hard to get here, and we owe it to ourselves and to kind of see this through type thing.
My escape of the week, I'm going to just completely change the subject. Although we could talk about this for the entire episode, but completely change the subject. My escape, and I know that I've talked with you guys before this as well, that this is another conversation can blow up, is once again the Big Ten. My goodness, talk about being on a
happy is
streak.
the Pac-12, by the way?
Oh,
It's the
just
same
sit
thing.
down, shut up, and just watch what happens on the other side of the country right now. The Big Ten, man. I'm gonna read a little bit about there are some Nebraska Cornhuskers players that are suing the Big Ten because of their decision. And at face value, just saying that, my first reaction is, guys, get over it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. They have the right to do that.
But there was a time not for lawsuits.
But then you look at why they are suing the Big Ten, and you read it, you look at it, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. There are 9 players from the Nebraska Cornhuskers football team that are suing the Big Ten, and here is why. Let's see. It was filed Thursday in Lancaster County District Court. The Big Ten, they are saying that they are in breach of the contract by not following its governing documents, under which athletes are third-party beneficiaries. The documents state the athletes have the right to expect the Big Ten to follow its own governing documents and all other rules, regulations, and guidelines. The Big Ten will not make arbitrary and capricious decisions, and when a vote on a decision is momentous, as canceling all fall sports is announced, will conduct an actual vote.
Yep. And that's been the whole thing where James
And here's the
Franklin.
problem. Half of the Big Ten is already claiming that they canceled this season without talking to the coaches or presidents from the school.
Yep.
All of a sudden, wow, they have legs to stand on.
Yep.
And then, it goes further on to say they're really not looking for that much money in the grand scheme of things. It's less than, I think, $100,000.
It's just the
They want
voice.
the platform to be
Yeah.
like, hey, they're wrong here. And,
What are they
doing
wrong
this.
about?
The Big Ten?
Process. Due process.
Due process. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
So the
process.
due process of deciding you're going to do something for safety is the problem.
If you're going to cancel the season, they are claiming that there should be a vote. Half of the teams are coming out and saying they had no say in this. It was just one person making a huge decision to cancel everything.
Not to be devil's advocate, but I'm going to be devil's advocate. So this league is insured. They have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They have insurance for their players. They make a decision that puts their players and their fans at risk. They're going to lose their insurance.
I'm not saying it's not the right decision.
There's some decisions that a vote, you all can vote that you want to play. My insurance company says if you play, we're dropping you.
Yeah, but
So
they weren't
where
being
has
transparent. They weren't. That's
So
what
I'm
they
just saying
they
that
weren't being
there's some
transparent.
decisions that are in there where it's like we can go vote about it, but we're not going to have insurance coverage. We're not going to.
Well,
have
then
this.
great. Then tell your players that.
That's
Tell
the
your
whole.
teams that.
That's the whole thing. That's where people, and that's where I've been frustrated from day one. Is that there was no transparency in their decision. If the Big Ten came out and said, hey, we made a mistake putting out the schedule 3 days ago. We're canceling the season. This is our decision, Big Ten, the league office. We are not playing. Then it would be like, okay, that's jacked up, but at least we know. But instead, they were like, we're holding a vote, we're doing this, and the schools and the league, we decided that we're not out of safety, we're canceling. Well, that is, everyone's like, James Franklin, Penn State, they're a big player. He's like, I still have no idea what happened. I don't disagree with the decision.
Yep.
I just don't know, how can I tell my guys and the parents of my guys when I have no idea what the hell happened? That's where I have an issue. It's going to be hard to play. It's going to be hard to play SEC. It's going to be hard to play college football. All I'm asking, and I think what the lawsuit is, transparency. Let us know if the NFL cancels without a vote for the owners, which they would, but without a vote. And the NFL came and said this was our decision and our decision only. The owners weren't a part of it. They would never do that. But at least we would know, like, okay.
Yeah, they would never do that because the right thing is to get with your teams.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that in the Big Ten.
Was big athletic director, not a president, but a big athletic director for one of these schools. I think it was Ohio State, maybe? Or Michigan?
Was it Wisconsin?
Maybe it was Wisconsin?
Alvarez?
Somebody said, I didn't vote. Like, I would have voted to play the season. And, of course, it's athletic director, so he's going to be more even than a coach.
But do you think that some of these teams and some of these colleges don't want to be on the record as to whether they want to play or not?
It could be private.
No. Then once the vote happens, they're going to want to know who voted for what. Do you think that some of them, when you look at the value and the money in college sports, do you think that you want to be listed as one of the, let's say you're the school that says, the 5 schools that said, no, we're not going to play.
Okay.
Do you want to have that vote out there when you're going out trying to recruit new players?
Or
do you want to be the school that says, yeah, we want to let you play?
Well, I think that either way, you just got to stand. I think you have to stand by your decision. I think the problem is that
it's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, but if that were the case, even if that were the case, no matter which side you took, what you wouldn't claim afterwards is that there was no vote.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the first thing you claim is, I don't know.
But isn't that, really, really slimy business, though?
What? I'm sorry. You're the one that says what is the most corrupt.
The NCAA.
The NCAA. But this is Big Ten.
This is not the Big Ten and NCAA aren't the same.
I just think that at some point in time, maybe they just don't want to be. Again, to your point, there's no transparency. We don't know what happened. There's so many.
And granted, like you said, I hate the NCAA, so that's why I've been. Yeah. This is a triggering point for me all along.
And it's not just about football. It's not.
It's football, my
it's
whole
basketball,
thing.
It's soccer.
And we said this. I think it's going to be very hard to play. But if you're going to cancel, and it just doesn't make sense. The Big Ten commissioner said he was okay with his son playing. His son plays in the SEC. They came out with a schedule on Wednesday, and then they canceled, officially voted, I guess, who knows, on Monday. Something doesn't make sense. What happened? And they're not being. No one's letting.
And
no
keep
one's
in mind,
knowing.
who does the commissioner work for?
The schools, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you made a decision, or she made a decision, whichever conference we insert conference here, and didn't get a vote or didn't have some idea as to how the people react, don't you think you put your job at jeopardy too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm saying the conspiracy on this is a little bit deeper than just, we didn't have a chance to vote. Somehow they had a meeting of the minds.
They did 100%.
I just think that
some big player stepped in. Some big player.
Something happened, and there was a meeting of the minds somewhere, because no commissioner or president of a league is going to go on it alone unless they are super secure in their job.
Yeah, but I also think that is part of the reason why people are really upset. I think that's exactly what happened. But I think if they came out and they did say, our schools voted, the vote was 10-2, whatever, and we're not.
But in which 10? But which 10 are the most important? 10, out of 10 teams in your conference, let's say you got 3 that are superstars, and the rest are just the filler schools.
Yeah.
If the three big ones say we're not playing, congratulations, it's the vote's 7-3.
Yeah. I mean, I know on the football level, Ohio State and Penn State, they wanted to play. Now, obviously, if the president says something that's different, so it might be at the presidential level. But I also think if that's the case, then the president has got to at least communicate with his athletic director and coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just so much that goes into that.
Because Penn State's a big player. James Franklin threw a little bit of gas in the fire because he said, nobody told me, I had no idea. If he said, I've been in communication with the president and the Big Ten, we unfortunately knew this was going to happen. But it seems like they all got, the players were very adamant, that they were kind of blindsided. And obviously us, if we get blindsided, it is what it is. But, if the school that happened, let's say Ohio State president said, no, we can't play, we're not playing, we're doing this, they had that meeting, don't they owe it to the athletic director? Be like, hey.
Oh, I think their internal communication, to your point, it's going back to this, both of you, transparency.
Yeah.
What's going on? I just think that there's way more to this than just, we didn't have a vote. And I think once this, if this even gets to...
And that's why we'll be talking about the Big Ten attorney came out and he said that if we had to show the documents, reveal the documents, it would be extremely harmful. There might be something that one team came in and said, we're not doing this, and it might be a big player. And maybe that's why they think, if Ohio State said that, which is big, or Michigan, really Ohio State, then it could be damning to the Big Ten for bowing down to Ohio State, and it would be damning for Ohio State. But, if that's the case, that's that.
It could. That's kind of. That's kind of where I'm going. If the big dog in the room says,
"Yeah,
I'm not."
If LeBron James said early on, "I am not playing. We're not playing." We're not.
Well, it's kind of like.
And by the way, out there too. Can you imagine that pressure? Because they said that if LeBron went home, it was the end of it.
Yeah. Yep.
You're the one player
that everybody cares.
That
time out. That is what happened this past March with Duke. That's what happened with Duke.
Yeah.
When Duke is the first team to say we're not playing the ACC tournament, the ACC then said, "Fine, we're not playing."
Yep.
And then all of March Madness said, "Well, the ACC is not going to let their teams play. All right, we're not playing."
Yep.
Yeah. But
Duke led the entire discussion on well, I would say postponing, but canceling March Madness. That's kind of the same scenario would be in this hypothetical situation that we're guessing on. But you know what? Who's looking at Duke right now and saying shame on Duke?
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody is. They did what they felt was right. If Ohio
lot,
State's not going to play, that's fine.
But there's been so much animosity about this team's playing, this team's not playing, this is going on. We've talked about it on this show about if it, when you look at Nebraska, they said that they wanted to play because they were trying to get more recruits, and the whole back room part of this is crazy.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what it's going to look like 2 years from now, 1 year from now. I think people are trying to position themselves in places. They just need to realize this isn't a positioning moment. This is a get by moment. Let's make the best of it.
Yeah. But if Big Ten, they don't play and the SEC plays, isn't that a crazy amount of money losing forward as well? Like, if you're a recruit, are you going to be going somewhere where football is at the front?
It's a question of how you're going to look at value. Again, it's never going to happen to anyone in this room where we're going to have to actually evaluate a school that we want to go to because we're so talented. Anyone can build a pine bench, right? But if you're going to go, well, back in COVID, this school decided to play. that's where I want to go because they're that dedicated to.
It goes back to the same analogy. Do any of us think Duke and Coach K are going to be hurting on recruits?
No.
Not at all.
He doesn't.
Not at all.
Yeah, you know. I mean,
But it's Ohio State.
It's
Ohio State in football carries as much weight as Duke in basketball.
Yes.
As much. I'm not going to say more because Duke is king. But Ohio State is up there with the elites.
There's that Alabama.
But there's also North Carolina. I mean, there's plenty of others. Football is definitely a different sport as far as being on top.
I can't wait for the letters and emails on that one.
Well, there's a big difference in also 300 teams compared to 120.
Yeah. Yes.
It's harder to maintain, number one, in my opinion, in college basketball than it would be in college football. Purely because of the number of teams. I mean, Cinderella stories, all that kind of stuff.
We can't end the show without talking about your peachy shirt.
Yeah, man, it's a peachy day. It's a peachy day. I
Life's a peach.
me and my wife, we got me this shirt to signify going on vacation in a couple 2 weeks. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I will
Into
tell you,
September.
I am excited. I will be gone for the next 2 shows. I'm going to be.
Well, we're all excited for that, Tim.
I know you are. It's going to be great. Robbie's going to come sit over here to sit across from me to give you some grief and come up with all sorts of slams for you.
And Devlin will be back next week.
Devlin will be back. Hopefully, we'll all get a little recharge. You had your recharge moment. Devlin's got hers. I will say this. I want to thank everyone who watches on a consistent basis. We do this for fun. We do hope you guys enjoy it. And again, we are talking about the fun parts and what we would talk at a water cooler or whatever back in the day. But everyone out there, be safe and have a good week.
Yeah.
I'm Tim Pohanka.
Robbie Perry.
Nick Hall.
And we will see you on the bench next week.